WATD presents John Paul, the Car Doctor. All things automotive. Have questions? Call 781-837-4900. Now, here's John Paul, the Car Doctor.
And good Sunday morning, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Car Doctor program on 95.9 WATD. My name's John Paul, the Car Doctor, here to help you with your car problems on this sunny Sunday morning with wispy clouds. That's correct, Jesse, right? Wispy clouds?
Yes, I can confirm as a weather observer that they will be wispy.
Wispy. Good to know. Hey, it's that time of year. A lot of people get out and try to take care of their car, clean their car. You know, we had Patrick Jones, the CEO and founder of Bling Sauce. By the way, we're going to give away another sample of his product this program. But, you know, it was part of getting your car ready for kind of summer driving season, get it looking good. Last week we had the folks from Pennzoil on to talk about making sure you use the right oil in your car and making sure your car is maintained. But, you know, when you're out there and you're looking at your car, sometimes you notice some nicks and scratches, and you want to be able to touch up the paint and make it look good. And with us is Paul Fernandez from Automotive Touch-Up. And I like to have people on the program that I like their products, and I've used their products, and Automotive Touch-Up is one of those products. Paul, welcome back to the Car Doctor program.
Hey, thanks for having me.
And, you know, when you look at automotive touch-up products, you know, a lot of times you go into some of the stores and you look, and it seems like it doesn't always match exactly. And I know there's a lot of differences with you know, what kind of primer was used and so forth. But a couple years ago, we have an older sort of rusty Volkswagen that's in our family that sits for 6 months out of the year, and it was starting to get some rust, and I actually brought it to a local Votech school and asked the kids and their instructor, obviously, if they could, you know, just sort of knock the rust off it, make it look a little bit better. And the guy said, "What do you want to do for paint?" And I said, "Funny you ask. I just ordered some color matching paint from Automotive Touch-Up." So I gave them a can of primer, a can of color coat, and a can of clear. And when I got it back, somehow they managed to match this 11-year-old paint, and it came out really good. And I think part of it has to do with your product that you can get from Automotive Touch-Up.
We certainly do try to do our best. So, our primary thing is with our website, we've been in business now 22 years, so our database is full. So any OEM color all the way back to late 40s, Mercuries and Fords, we'll be able to match those colors. And if people want to hit the website, they can. I always suggest the first place to start, if you don't already know your paint code, because it's going to be the key to getting a good match, is go to the link at the top of our page for paint codes. It'll direct you to your year and your make, and it'll tell you where to find that code, and it'll have example images so you can identify it without a doubt.
And, you know, that's a good point. A lot of people think, oh, my car's white or my car's black. White's white and black's black, but in fact,
never the case.
Never, yeah.
No, they're all different, yeah.
Yeah, and
especially white. Sometimes they're a little yellow. Sometimes they're a little blue. They can have a green tint to them. You don't know it because you're looking at it, and it just looks like a bunch of white. But if you put three of them side by side, you'd know it in a heartbeat. Just like with house paint. If you paint, a little bit side by side, a few swatches, you'll know the difference instantly.
And, you know, that's a good point. And people have written to me in the past, and they said, oh, I want to do a little paint color match. I scuffed up my bumper, or I, got a scratch somewhere or something. And just like as if you were painting a room in your house, preparation is the key to getting a good outcome, right?
Absolutely. If you were mentioning rust before. Okay, well, if you don't clean up the surface of rust or dirt or any kind of contaminants, then you're just set up for failure to begin with. It's not very difficult to have a very good, cosmetic repair, but the key is make sure the area is clean, it's sanded properly, get the rust off, but more than anything, clean. clean is the biggest thing. And, you can use prep wipes, you can use prep solvents, you can use any kind of cleaning solvent, but you don't want to use anything too harsh. You want things that are water-based when it comes to cleaning solvent. And in my case, the best thing to clean with, just dish soap and water. Make sure it's perfectly clean and dry. It's the best degreaser you're going to find, and you already have it, so that's the good news.
Yeah.
And then just go from there with, making sure you get the correct things that you need for whatever damage type you actually have for your car. If you have small chips or, rock chips or very small scratches, fine. Buy very small items. Buy half-ounce bottles of clear primer and base coat. You can buy micro dabbers, so you can transfer as little as maybe an eighth of a drop of paint, because you don't need as much. Never use more than you need, basically. And our customer support can usually, if you want to talk, you can always call our 888 number, 888-710-5192, toll free. We can let you know what you need, or you can go use our contact link at the top of automotivetouchup.com. We'll have a contact link there, and you can submit a customer service ticket, and it's usually answered within 24 to 48 hours.
And well, you made a good point about don't use more paint than you need. A lot of times you look at people, they've tried to touch up their cars, and they go buy a little nail polish bottle size of paint, and it looks like by the time they're done, they're writing their name on the side of the car, because they just kind of splattered it all over the place. The idea that you're just trying to fill in the little area with the little scratch with paint and not use more than you need, just let it kind of blend naturally into the paint, right?
Yeah, there's a misconception that you can just buy a bottle of touch-up paint or a paint pen, and you can go and just touch up a area let's say the size of a quarter, and if you're using something that could leave tiny brush strokes or something else, then I would always suggest no. If it's bigger than, maybe a half of an inch by half of an inch square, or we could use a dime as an example. If it's any bigger than any kind of size like that, then you should really be looking at aerosol at that point, because you don't have to spray an entire panel. You just need to make sure you cover the area that's, you really need the touch-up, and blend into the surrounding area the best you can.
And that's the tricky part. The blending can be a little bit tricky for people when they're trying to paint. But still, like you said, sometimes all you're really trying to do is maybe do a couple of stone chips on the hood, and you just want to do this tiny amount of paint, just enough to sort of fill in the chip, right?
Right. So if, like I said, one aerosol set, basically primer, clear, and base. The good news is if you're just trying to do a nice cosmetic repair that's not huge, you're not trying to do a whole panel or anything like that, well, you've got more than enough material to do a little bit of practice. It is a DIY job, but it's not a very difficult one if you just practice a little bit. You can practice on anything. You can practice on a piece of cardboard just to get an idea of how to blend, how to paint at an even angle when you're covering the actual damage, but how to pull the can away maybe a little and just kind of dust coat a little around it. And with the clear coat, you want to go further out than that. And then you can, because you always have the option of buffing the edges and making it look a little nice at the end.
And one of the things that, we think about sometimes, you think about, well, maybe you just went out, and I watched this on TV the other night. Somebody bought a Jeep, and the paint was kind of rough on it, and they didn't want a Concours quality paint job, but they managed to paint 90% of the vehicle with spray cans. You can actually kind of bring a car sort of back to life and make it look good with spray cans, right?
We had a guy years ago. This was, I'm going to say, 10 to 12 years ago, and he repeatedly ordered for an '83 Volvo that he wanted to restore entirely, but he didn't feel comfortable with a compressor or a spray gun, so he just kept ordering cans. All told, he ended up ordering probably 70, 80 spray cans, and he refinished his the entire exterior of his Volvo, and it ended up looking really great. Our thing is basically we just want people to know that there are cost-effective alternatives just besides walking into a store like you described, because they're only going to have limited colors anyway. They're going to have the most popular colors for the most popular manufacturers, and they're not going to have everything you need. Odds are you're not going to find your color unless you have one of those colors. And so we're just looking to give people a cost-effective alternative to body shops, because if you can avoid getting into a body shop situation, definitely do so. Unless you've wrecked your car and you have to have body work done, you can do cosmetic repairs and you can make your car look better on your own.
And one little kind of, and I don't really want to call it a novelty accessory, but maybe it is a little bit. You have this aerosol spray can trigger thing that you snap on the can, and basically all it does is push the button, but it gives you kind of a controlled way to hold a can, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't call it a novelty necessarily. Sometimes, especially with some more elderly customers we've had, they appreciate that product a lot because they don't, they might have arthritis in some cases, and when they press on the actual, when they press on the actual tip to let paint through the valve, what happens is instead of getting a steady flow from one point to another point, they'll let loose a little, and the last thing you want is intermittent paint coming from an aerosol can. It messes up your job. Little globs of paint could spit out. It's not a steady way to do it. Those work great in those cases, or for anybody really. I mean, if I do test panels here at the shop just because I want to check how some things are working or check the quality of some of our cans before we fill them, then I would like to use the same thing, and I often do. I just keep one in the corner of my office, and because they are reusable, you can pop them back on a new can anytime you want. But, it's an effective tool, like I said, for older people who aren't sure how to do it, or, it's just a good way to get a better result.
It makes me feel more professional when I use it.
Yeah, me too. And I know how to paint panels. I know how to do RTS, and use my spray gun and use a compressor and everything else. But I feel like I can get almost, the exact same results using a spray can. And maybe it's because I've done a little more than most people, but most of our customers, they get very good results, give us very good feedback, very good reviews, and we're very appreciative of it.
And one of the things I like about your product is that, say that you, built a, 65 Mustang and you painted it with, you were a fan of, Chrysler Plum Crazy. So you decided to paint your Mustang with Plum Crazy. And then, you're out one day and somebody scratches, you get a scratch in the car. Now all of a sudden you can go to you guys and you can get that factory color in a spray can and be able to match it, where maybe that gallon you used to paint your car, well, that's long gone now, but here's this can and it's going to be a match to that factory color.
So as long as you use the OEM for Plum Crazy Purple, which I know what you're referring to, it had its day. If you as long as you use the original OEM version of it, well, we can match the original OEM version of it. Or if you just want to do a repaint, we can do totally different things. If you want to get some of the other odd colors from the 70s and 80s, like Panther Pink and all of these things, and the Cadillacs they give to Avon saleswomen, and they give them those Mary Kay Pink DeVilles, and frankly, they feel like they're so special because theirs looks that way and no one else's does. Well, anyone's can if they feel like just going ahead and placing an order for it with us.
Yeah, I don't see myself painting my car pink. Just me, but
didn't expect it, but
Yeah. Have you guys expanded out of automotive products to, boats and guitars or anything like that?
We've done guitars in the past, but it's mostly just special requests.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have codes for Gibson and Fender and stuff like that, the originals. And when we don't, we can usually find very, very close approximations to like the original turquoises they used on Stratocasters and some of the colors they used on Telecasters, which were more like creams and like light beiges and things like that. So in the case of guitars, yeah, absolutely. But I would always recommend guitar people don't use acrylic, don't use acrylic lacquer on your guitar. Don't use that. I mean, do it the way it's originally done. Use nitrocellulose lacquer. It's going to take longer, but you're going to have something that's going to last so many years. It's going to have so many layers, but time-consuming. Other things, we do run another sister site, industrialtouchup.com. That's mainly we're selling paint for single-stage items for like ditch witches, bulldozers, different brands of cranes, John Deere, you name it.
And and people do, people don't always think about it, but people take a lot of pride in their heavy duty equipment too, and they want their big equipment to look good, and they want to be able to get out there and clean it up and make it look nice, especially if they're if it's at the end of their useful life for them, and they want to put it on the market and resell it.
That's what I was going to say.
Get it looking good.
I think that the best thing about our industrial touch-up site is resale value for owners of heavy equipment. So, I mean, heavy equipment, if you're going to resell it, you're going to do so much better. If you just clean it up, make it look as nice as possible, you're going to make a lot more money, and the investment you put in and the time, it's going to be very minimal.
And if you are somebody who's comfortable with a spray gun, whether it's an older spray gun, or it's one of the new high volume, low pressure guns. You can buy quarts and gallons from Automotive Touch Up too, right?
We sell pints, quarts, gallons of everything. We sell in every other touch up size. We sell our own homemade acrylic lacquers. We also sell SW brand Finish One. We sell urethane lacquers and urethane primers, two-part. You're going to have to be a little more experienced to make sure you get that job done in the time frame before that catalyst turns it into basically a brick. But if you want something that's going to be more durable and last longer, then excellent options.
And you also have, I was just went on your website while we were talking, and you have you kind of have the whole accessory kind of, you can buy sandpaper, you can buy the prep solvent, absolutely. you can buy one of the products I like is the plastic wrap with the tape attached to it, so you can make masking, bigger areas off nice and easy, and the prices are pretty reasonable.
I think we're cheaper than all of our competitors at the moment, which is one thing we always try to be. It's the prices on a lot of the materials gone up the last few years, and as we noticed our competitors going up, we were like, well, we're going to go up, but we're not going to go to their level of, how high it's getting. But we still feel comfortable with what we can make. And as far as accessories and everything else we have, we try to make sure we have anything someone might ask for. Basically, if that's safety products, like you mentioned, abrasives like sandpapers and scuff pads and things like that, in different sizes, miniature versions. You can buy packs of single grits. You can buy packs of assorted grits, so you can just, run the whole gamut from rough grits all the way to something fine that you could actually use on a clear coat. It's all available right there, and we try to cover anything we can. And if we can't, people can always ask. There's no guarantee we can't find something else for them too.
Before we let you go, one thing that's always is a little bit tricky, cars don't have, cars in the last 20 years don't have real bumpers anymore. They're all plastic bumpers. They can be a little bit tricky because of they're flexible, and sometimes the colors are a little harder to match. But you guys are set up for that too, right?
As best as anyone can be, I suppose. First of all, you have to determine, okay, is this thing pre-primed? If it's pre-primed, okay, cool. You get to jump the primer step. That's nice in some cases. But the problem with a lot of pre-primed parts is they come black. If your car's white, you might still want to prime it anyway, just to, so you use less paint. The primer would be cheaper, obviously. Even a gray primer would, you'd get better coverage. I'd say the main thing, if people have plastic entire pieces that they want to put on, if it's flexible, we already have a little bit of flex additive in our paint, but those are customers I would suggest should call in to our 888 number, which is on our page, or they can contact us through our ticket system and request specifically that we add additional flex additive to their paint so that it won't break. You won't get any cracking later on if there's a little bit of a flex to the part when they're putting it on, if they painted ahead of time, or if they had to take it off for any reason or any other, whatever the case may be.
And when it comes, you guys said you've been around for a long time. It was just one of those companies that seemed like you found a need for it, and again, be able to get that sort of, really factory match is just important. I mean, there's a local auto parts store, less than a mile from where I am. You go in and they have some assortments of paint, but I've never actually been able to find an exact color match, and I drive pretty basic vehicles and they're never quite exactly right. And sometimes you go to look it up and it'll say generic black, but it's not the factory black. It's black, but it's not the factory black. Where you guys, I can go in, I can get I can look up the paint code, and in 2 weeks, all of a sudden I get a can of paint in the mail, or more than
I mean, if you really want your car to look right, never trust generic black, generic anything. So I drove in today in a Jeep Wrangler. It is the most generic black that Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep puts out. The most generic Mopar color there is. However, if I were to take the most generic, which is ebony black from the GM brand of products, and put it like on a scratch on my Jeep, and not the one that it's actually the code for, I would notice it. I know I would notice it because one may have a little more yellow or a little more green in it. Most black colors are not just black; they are tinted a little bit.
So it is true that you want to get people's cars looking good. You have the products to make it look good. It's automotivetouchup.com, real easy, and the phone number is 888-710-5192. Is that right?
Yep, or they can use the contact link at the top of our page. Our ticket system, people are checking it usually about even on the weekends, every few hours or so.
And what's nice is for people that maybe are a little bit timid about doing it, you have some how-to videos that help a little bit too, right?
Oh yeah, we have how-to videos, and we like I said, if you go through our ticket system, we can give you some tech support and some advice on specific questions on how to do things, what order you should do some things if it's not perfectly clear to them. Look, we're willing to help all the time. That's why we like to give multiple ways for them to contact.
Yeah. Is there any way to fix sort of and you see sometimes peeling paint on some cars, but sometimes you also see people that they leave their cars by no choice. They leave them and maybe they haven't really gone through wax and all of that, and you look and the paint literally looks like it was burned off of it, or it's all crackled. I have a neighbor who has a Chrysler Sebring, and the trunk lid looks like it's all spider webs and faded. Is there any way to fix that, or is it sand it, prime it, and paint it?
Yeah, I was going to say, so what you're describing is essentially delamination, right?
Right.
So the clear coat's been exposed to the sunlight or some other, extreme weather conditions for so long that it started to peel up. The clear coat started to almost look like it's barely there. It's still there, but it has no more gloss. It has no more shine. The base coat underneath, it's being harmed basically because of the same thing. Once the clear coat goes, next the base coat starts to get harmed. And you're right. The only way you're going to get to fix that is you're going to have to sand off that clear coat first, and then sand the base coat just to the point where you feel comfortable with it. Like, get rid of the ugliest patches, make sure it's nice and smooth, and then you can go ahead and do a reapplication of base coat, reapplication of clear coat, and, how long it lasts, well, that depends. If you live in freaking North Dakota, near the border or something, you're going to have probably some problems at some point, 5 to 10 years down the road. If you live here in New Orleans, the humidity is going to wreak havoc on your vehicle at some point. And that's another thing is, application needs to be done during the best weather you can possibly find. Otherwise, it could ruin your job as well. But yeah, in the case of what you mentioned, delamination, clear coat, and once that happens, the base coat, it's going to suffer. So yeah, it's a sand job and basically reapplication to the whole panel or just the parts that really need it.
There you go. And maybe the parts that really need it, maybe you can just do a little bit of that, and you can make it look good from 20 feet away, and maybe that's enough to make everybody happy.
I think it depends on the car too. If it's a 2020 Corvette, yeah, you're going to spend a lot more time, and you're going to want the whole panel to look perfect next to the adjacent panels. If it's a 1996 Chevy Cavalier, I'm sure you're going to be fine. If it looks normal and you don't have clear coat peeling off of it, and you can just make it look pretty good.
You must have a camera in my house or something, because across the street from me is a 1996 Cavalier with the paint peeling off the trunk lid. So, but she doesn't seem to care. It doesn't bother her. So again, it depends on how you feel about your vehicle and what you want to do. So it's automotivetouchup.com. You can get everything you need to whether it's just touching up a little stone chip that you got on the hood from driving on the highway, or you want to touch up a bigger panel, or you want to paint a whole car. You can get all the products directly from automotivetouchup.com. Paul, I want to thank you for taking a little time out of your Sunday morning and joining us on the Car Doctor radio program.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
All right, take care now. Why don't we take a break, pay some bills? My name's John Paul. This is a Car Doctor program. When we come back, we're going to figure out how to give away some Bling Sauce. My name's John Paul. This is a Car Doctor. You're listening to 95.9 WATD. We'll be right back.
Start your Sunday off right with brunch at the Old Hitching Post in Hanson. The Old Hitching Post offers a full buffet brunch every Sunday from 10 to 1. Fill up on all your favorites like eggs and bacon, sausage, home fries, French toast casserole, mac and cheese, homemade hash, fresh seafood, rice, veggies, fresh fruit, quiche, yogurt parfaits, pastries, ham, omelets, eggs Benedict, and more. The Old Hitching Post Sunday brunch from 10 to 1 at 48 Spring Street, Route 58 in Hanson. Online at oldhp.com. That's OLDEHP.com.
AAA is with you at every moment in your life. They have 24/7 roadside assistance, which covers you in any car you're driving or riding in, even a rental or your friend's wheels. They have great member rates on home and auto insurance, savings on travel, hotels, and rental cars, and discounts on hundreds of your favorite brands. You're covered on and off the road. Learn more at aaa.com/join.
This is Dan Cloutier.
And this is Kim Jennings.
We're from Birch Bear Records. Tune into Twilight Showcase Radio.
Hosted by Sandy Stride and Keith James.
On 95.9 WATD and 95.9WATD.com.
Search for Twilight Showcase on Facebook and visit twilightshowcase.org.
Twilight Showcase, tonight from 8 to 10 on 95.9 WATD. Make an appointment Sunday morning at 11 for John Paul, the Car Doctor, on 95.9 WATD. Now, back to the Car Doctor.
And welcome back to the Car Doctor program. And again, I like to, have folks on the program and talk about things that I like to use. I have used automotive touch-up products in the past. The old Volkswagen My old Hyundai, the white Hyundai, that was a tricky one, though, because that used two different color coats. It used a base color white, then it used a top color white, then it used a clear coat. So I actually ended up with like 4 cans. But I was able to, I had a problem with paint actually peeling above the windshield. And I just, and honestly, I didn't do that great a job. I just sanded the top of it and masked off between the windshield and masked off about an inch on the other side of where the paint was peeling. Sanded it down so it looked fairly even, primed it, base coat, color coat on top of the base coat, clear coat on top of that. Did it look perfect? No, but it looked way better. And, you know, it would have looked even better if I spent more time, but I sort of did it. I think I just had like some free time one morning and said, you know what, I'm tired of looking at this. I'm going to go try to make it better, and I did. Still, I thought the most amazing results in the poor old Volkswagen that we keep up north, which my nephew is driving it right now. That car, when I brought it to South Shore Votech in Hanover, had their body shop folks look at it, and they say, well, you know, to do it right, we need to take the fenders off and, you know, be able to get to the rocker panels. And I'm like, and they're like, well, you know, we'll need it for a while. I said, how about if you just knock the rust off and paint it? And the 2 girls who actually did it said, well, you know, it's not going to come back. It's going to come back. It's not going to be perfect. And these two this was their project, and they took care of it, and it came out really good. And I have to say, it lasted a couple of years, and then it started to rust again, which I expected. And I never expected, you know, the plan was this car was never going to stay with us that long, but my wife somehow likes it, so it's stayed with us even longer. And we got to figure that part out. We are going to be traveling this week, though. We are going to be leaving sunny Florida, which we're putting things away now. So I've mentioned in the past, because I live 100 yards from a boat ramp, I bought a little small boat. But like all things, that requires maintenance. So change the oil in the motor, which didn't get a lot of use this year because this was a weird winter in Florida. It was kind of cold and windy, and it's been windy a lot here. But still, I don't like putting things away with dirty oil. Even if the oil's not really that dirty, I don't like leaving oil and stuff, except for the lawnmower, which I'm lazy about. But the outboard motor, I wanted to get fresh oil in it. I normally use Mercury Quicksilver oil. I ended up using the Pennzoil marine oil. Again, a product, Pennzoil. I like their products. I use the Platinum Ultra in my car. The Volkswagen that we keep here, which is now 10 years old, or almost 10 years old, I took it to a local AAA approved auto repair program or shop not far from here, and I go there because they're AAA approved, and I feel that, you know, I have something common somehow, and I go to AAA shops usually wherever I am, whether it's, you know, even when my wife was up visiting, she took the old Volkswagen into Junior's Automotive in Middleborough, AAA shop. I've known Junior for 35 years now, but still brought it to a AAA shop. So kind of that's what we do. It's kind of interesting. The guy who was new at the service counter, and it's a pretty good sized shop. It's Emery Auto Service, and it's a pretty good sized shop. But they always have 2 or 3 service writers, and the owner sort of sits in the background. And he went out and looked at the car and said, "Wow, you keep that car in really nice shape." And one of the reasons I think he said that was because about 2 weeks ago, I washed it and went over it with the Bling Sauce product, which I also used their hot sauce on the boat to clean some of the salt stains and stuff off the boat. I want to talk about products that I like, and I've talked about Meguiar's waxes in the past because Meguiar's wax product that always seemed to work for me. This Bling Sauce, something new for automotive, which I hadn't seen before. I have used their hot sauce for cleaning salt off the boat. I saw it in the store, and I said, I wonder if that really works, and it does. Cleans the salt stains right off. So So we're going to be giving some away. And what they did last time, and I assume they're going to do it again, is they send out trim sauce, the regular car finish sauce, and leather sauce, which you can use on vinyl, by the way. So they send out 3 different bottles, and we had somebody win some in, I believe it was in Plymouth. So this time, we're not going to do car trivia. We're just going to do the 9th caller, and we do need to take your name, address, phone number, and email, because somebody from Bling Sauce will send you an email and they'll give you tracking number and all that stuff so you can know when your product's coming. So name, address, phone number, and email, and Jesse will get that. And Jesse, what do you think? 9th caller? How's that sound?
That'll work.
You think so? All right. You can count to 9. I can count to 9. So I think we're good. So
I'll do my best.
You can count to 9, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I mentioned earlier that I had never read a complete book, and you were talking about how you listen to books online, or books on tape, which aren't really on tape, but
audiobooks. That's what the youngins are calling it these days.
Is that what they're calling it? Yeah. Audiobooks, the youngins. Yeah. Anyway, some of the questions that came in this week, and I'm still, if you're looking for the stuff that I write, you can go to boston.com and find my column there. They post it randomly. They post it usually once a week. Sometimes I think they actually posted both columns. I sent them 2 columns this week, one for last week and one for this coming week. I think they posted both of them, but you can find them there. And Providence Journal, if you go to projo.com, usually you can find it. You might have to, after 6 times there, you might need to register or something. The Troy Record, if you're in Long Island, the Newsday, Long Island Newsday publication, only in their digital version or the paper version. But if you just try to go on their website, it gets complicated. You do need to register for their website. But if you happen to be listening online, and I know our online listener audience is pretty good, either live or later, New York Newsday on Friday, you can find it there, as well as the Troy Record and the Oneida newspaper and the Hartford Current. We're all the columns scattered around, and what there are is there different. Each week I write 3 different columns. So each week I write a column for the Boston papers, which is Boston, the Quincy Sun when Bob uses it in the Quincy Sun, and the Yankee Express out on the 495 area out there. They get 1 set of columns. The New York papers, whether it's the Troy Record or the papers kind of in that area of New York, plus Newsday, plus PIX 11, the TV station for people who live in New York and they watch PIX Channel 11. You can go on their website. You can find my column up there. They claim it has pretty good readership there, and of course the Providence Journal and Providence Journal column sort of runs by itself. I think when I started doing the Providence Journal column, they asked that it was unique content for them. And even though they've changed newspaper owners a bunch of times since then, it's still the same. So it's 3 different columns, and if you want to read all of them, you can read all of them. It's all there for you. So again, if you want to win Bling Sauce, the 9th caller, all you have to do is call 781-837-4900, 781-837-4900. And if you want to buy some Bling Sauce, and I assume this is true still, if you want to buy some, go on their website, and where it says discount code, use Radio 20, and you will get a 20% discount. And interestingly, and maybe this has to do with marketing and how it all works, is if you go to, say, Walmart and buy their product, it's actually in a slightly smaller bottle. So you might say, well, 20% off, it's the same price as when I get it. No, you get more product when you buy it off their website. You get a bigger bottle. So there you go. So you can go to Bling Sauce, and when you want to order some of their product, go right on there, order it, and put in Radio 20. I tried it about a week ago, and it showed 20% discount. So there you go. You can get it that way too. And again, I like talking about products I like. Somebody wrote in and said, I've always used Napa oil filters. I was very happy with their performance. Recently, I read, and it says maybe you, that they're not the same and not recommended by professional mechanics. Many of the better oil filters are made by one company that produce various brands of quality filters. It's my understanding that Napa changed manufacturers after doing a little research. The Napa filters, although made by a different company, in a different factory, are still high-quality filters. I would still use a Napa Gold filter, even though it's not made by the same company that makes Wix and Purolator. It's kind of interesting when I went to get the oil change on the Volkswagen. Why I don't do the Volkswagen myself is there's a big belly pan under the engine, and you have to take the belly pan down. And although I have a set of ramps, I can get the car up about 8 inches off the ground. Can't really get the belly pan off easily. So for the once-a-year oil change that the Volkswagen gets, Volkswagen says change the oil, use synthetic oil, change it once a year or every 10,000 miles. It went 1,200 miles last year.
We do have a winner for the contest, so folks
we do.
Can, stop calling. We have so many callers. We probably could have done caller number 90. We joked about that last week. Yeah, but Kevin H. is the winner. So congrats to Kevin.
Well, congratulations to Kevin H. And so we could have done like the 95th caller.
Might have been able to. Yep, they're still ringing. Still ringing over there.
I can't count to 95. So, but are you going to be here Father's Day?
No, I don't believe so. I think I will be abroad.
Well, then it's your lucky day then, because the people from Bling Sauce said they would give one more set of Bling Sauce away on Father's Day. So while you're enjoying vacationing lifestyle, Tim will be answering the 95th call.
Ah, look at that. All right. And it's going to be me, because I'm just going to start calling nonstop. Except I think it'll be like 3 a.m. in Greece when you go on the air, but we'll figure that out, you know? I'll set
I know you're not a car person, but are there cool cars in Greece?
No, they're all like those tiny little hybrid, no power whatsoever to these things. I almost killed my whole family by accident, quote unquote by accident, by almost driving off a cliff because the car wasn't powerful enough to make it up this dirt road. Yeah, and I had to do like a 3-point turn on a cliff, and the thing kept stalling out. It was a nightmare. And, of course, it was like 4 a.m. back home, so I'm trying to call my dad and anybody that is an expert at driving manual to figure out what the trick would be. And, eventually I just flagged down some locals that were driving by. I'm like, you, drive my car for me. I'm a stupid American. And, anyways. Now
how'd that work? Did you get...
They got up the hill, but he stalled out like 4 times. He's like, what are you doing? Like, this car can't be on this hill. I'm like, all right. At least it's not completely just me. So
are the roads there like some of the ones I see in, I don't know, Tibet or something? They're like 1,000,000 feet up and no guardrails?
That's 1,000% what I was on at that exact time. So I mean, like most of the roads in Greece are your typical highways.
Yeah.
You drive on the same side of the road that you do in America, which is nice. And but when you get the closer to the water you get, the more narrow and steep and unpaved these roads become, which the vehicles that they have over there just cannot handle them. So, dangerous situation. But if you want to learn how to drive standard, that's the place to do it, because that's the only options. All the rental cars are all manual, and I knew how to drive manual, but clearly not good enough to not jeopardize the lives of my kids. But, we figured it out. We survived.
There you go.
But it's one of my favorite parts of going out there is putting my skills to the test on driving manual vehicles. I find that to be unbelievably fun.
Yeah, I worked with a woman who lived in Canton, Mass. For a while, and then she actually moved to Greece, and she talks about some of the challenges. On her Facebook page, she talked about some of the challenges of just driving in traffic in Greece.
Yeah, it's tricky because when you're driving through like a small village, they have all of the diners and cafes and everything. They have outdoor seating that not only are on the sidewalk but like dip a little bit into the street. And sometimes these roads are so narrow that like you got to drive really slowly to make sure you're not running over someone's toes. They're all so close to the street, and they don't care. They deal with that stuff all day. But meanwhile, I remember last year when we were there, we're going through this little village and it's going uphill. And me with my non-powerful hybrid vehicle, it's like I'm kind of rolling backwards because there's traffic, and there's some big truck trying to make a U-turn, and I'm over here, I'm like, I'm going to run over one of these people that are just sitting nonchalantly outside. So, yeah, there are definitely obstacles to it, and we'll see how it goes. We're going to Crete, which is known to be very mountainous and dangerous driving, so it should be fun.
Well, I hope you come back.
I hope so, too. We do have Al from Marshfield on the line if you'd like to take a call or take a break, but it's up to you.
Why don't we take the call and then take a break?
Sounds good.
All right. Al, good morning. Al?
Hello? Nope, Tom.
Oh, there you are. All right. Good morning.
Oh, this is Tom. No, I haven't talked to nobody
Tom.
yet.
Oh,
yeah,
all right. Well, you just happened to call in. You just happened to call in, and Jesse hit the button, and we got you. So look at that.
Yeah. Well, last week I waited. I didn't get on. I don't know, something happened.
Okay. Well, see, Jesse must have known that. And the other thing is we're so close to a new studio. I've seen pictures, new phone system. Nothing's going to work, when we get that up and running, because, it's the way new stuff is. So.
Yeah, it's bad enough that I already hit the wrong buttons like I just did. Never mind, we're in a new studio.
All right, well, let's talk to Tom. Go ahead.
John, last week you were talking about oil, right? And I just want to say, I've talked to a couple of people. We were talking about oil one day, and they mentioned, like, they get it done somewhere, and then they take it somewhere else, and somebody say, you need oil. So I just wanted to make a point, and then my sister took a car somewhere to get the tires done. She's going home, and the freaking things are banging. This is a very good shop, and the wheel lugs were loose. So I don't know what's going on, because I've heard from several people. But maybe when you get your oil changed, no matter where, maybe it would be a good thing if you have a nephew or somebody there to just check.
I got to
put the damn oil in.
I got to tell you, I don't trust anybody, and
no,
even me sometimes I don't trust.
Yeah.
So after I had the oil changed on the Volkswagen that we leave in Florida, when I got it home, the first thing I did was open the hood and check all the fluid levels, make sure everything was full, and then I also wanted to drive it for a couple of days just to make sure I'm not going to see anything leaking or dripping or anything that didn't go as well as it should, because I hate to say it, sometimes the person on the lube rack is the least experienced person taking care of the most expensive part of your car.
Right.
You think about it. I used to, and anybody who listens to this program knows that I can be cheap. So, right near where I am right now, there's a Walmart Auto Care Center. Frugal. No, I'm cheap. And they can do a synthetic oil change for $59.95. And I brought the car there a couple of years ago. And I got it back, and I noticed a little dripping on the ground. And I said, well, maybe they just spilled oil, and it's collecting in the oil, in the belly pan under the car. And I kind of looked under there, and it's still dripping, so I brought it back. And somehow they lost the oil drain plug, and they put another one in that didn't fit. And I said, well, how did you lose an oil drain plug? The only job you have when you change oil is to take the oil drain plug out, look at the gasket on it, let the oil drain out, put it back in, tighten it up by hand, and change the oil filter. How did you lose the oil drain plug? And all they said to me was, oh, that's Jimmy. He sometimes has some problems. And I'm like, well, I don't want problems with my car. So, so I ended up going and getting a replacement drain plug, and then I actually went and got to the Volkswagen dealer and I got the factory drain plug. And the next oil change, I went to the AAA approved repair place, and I went in and I said, by the way, can you put this new drain plug in? And they're like, yeah, sure. Why? And I said, and I told them a story. They said, how did they lose it? I'm like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
But they did. Yeah.
They did.
So,
wow.
so really good point. If you go have your car serviced, go around afterwards and check and make sure all the lug nuts are tight. Go and make sure, And like I said, I don't even trust myself. I took the wheels off my little boat trailer. There's only two. And I wanted to lube the bearings and put a little bit of grease on the lug nuts because, they go in the water and get salty.
Oh, yeah.
And even after it was all done, I went back, a couple days later and just went around just to double check, make sure everything was tight, just the way it was supposed to be. Again, just because I don't even trust me sometimes. So.
Yeah, well, that's why I do my own oil changes, and I do use, for some reason, I don't know what it is, if it's pocketing or what, but I do use the Pennzoil also.
Yeah. Yeah.
I go to Valvoline once in a while, but Pennzoil. I don't know why.
I used to be a Castrol person, and I used to be
me
Castrol
too.
back in the old days. And I don't know. I decided with the last new car that we got, I tried this oil made from natural gas, and I'm like, I wonder if there's anything to that. I mean, it looks clean.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
So there you go. Hey, we got to take a break, but thanks for calling in as always. All right, take care.
Thanks.
Why don't we take that quick break, and when we come back, then maybe we'll talk to Al from Marshfield. How's that? You're listening to the Car Doctor program on 95.9 WATD. We'll be right back.
Start your Sunday off right with brunch at the Old Hitching Post in Hanson. The Old Hitching Post offers a full buffet brunch every Sunday from 10 to 1. Fill up on all your favorites like eggs and bacon, sausage, home fries, French toast casserole, mac and cheese, homemade hash, fresh seafood, rice, veggies, fresh fruit, quiche, yogurt parfaits, pastries, ham, omelets, eggs Benedict, and more. The Old Hitching Post Sunday brunch from 10 to 1 at 48 Spring Street, Route 58 in Hanson. Online at oldhp.com. That's OLDEHP.com.
AAA is with you at every moment in your life. They have 24-hour 7 roadside assistance, which covers you in any car you're driving or riding in, even a rental or your friend's wheels. They have great member rates on home and auto insurance, savings on travel, hotels, and rental cars, and discounts on hundreds of your favorite brands. You're covered on and off the road. Learn more at aaa.com/join.
Hey there, folks. It's Quinn Kelly reminding you to tune in Sunday night at 5 for the South Shore's first voice in sports talk radio, The Sports Exchange. Unmatched coverage of local high school action, as well as a relatable voice on all things Boston Pro Sports. We've got you covered live at 5 every Sunday night. Have a question for our host, missed last week's show, or just want to share a great sports story? You can find us on Twitter at SE on WATD. But remember, mark your calendar, folks, and we'll see you Sunday night at 5 for the Sports Exchange on 95.9 WATD.
Make an appointment Sunday morning at 11 for John Paul, the Car Doctor, on 95.9 WATD. Now, back to the Car Doctor.
And welcome back to the Car Doctor program on 95.9 WATD. Let's see if Al's still there. Al, are you still there?
Al is still here.
All right, Al, what's up?
Who's this, Tom?
No, it's John.
John, I'm sorry. John, this is Al, Marshfield. Listen, I have a question for you. I have a 2009 Jeep Wrangler.
Yep.
Okay? And the problem I'm having is I replaced the emissions, I'm going to call it the complete emissions system in the vehicle about 2 years ago. The light keeps coming, my check engine light keeps coming back on. The emission system that I replaced was an aftermarket, not an original OEM.
Okay, so by emission system, you mean like the catalytic converter?
Catalytic converter,
okay.
oxygen sensors, kind of the whole 9 yards,
okay.
right?
All right, yep.
Because I'm investing in the vehicle, I want to keep it going. I'm 15 years into the Jeep now, and again, I replaced the system, but I can't get that check engine light off. So talk to me about, I'm coming up on a sticker that's due in July, but at this point in time, it's irrelevant because it's over 15 years.
Yeah, but in theory, if you come in with a check engine light on, they're not supposed to give you a sticker. But most people don't look at that. So
most people won't look at that check engine light.
In a lot of cases, no, or else what people do, and you could be one of them, is if 20 minutes before you go get an inspection sticker, you disconnect the battery, and then you hook it back up, and all the lights go out. And then they'll come back on like 2 or 3 days later.
Just reset it.
Yeah, that's basically all. You're just clearing the codes by disconnecting the battery. But what is probably wrong is there's probably a leak somewhere in what's called the evaporative emission system, which is the gas tank isn't supposed to vent to the atmosphere. Like in the old days, if you looked at a car on a hot summer day, you'd see like fumes coming off of it. Well, today's cars, all those fumes get reburned inside the car. So what happens is when you start it up, there's something called an evaporative emission system. There's a charcoal canister. It takes all the fumes from the gas tank, stores it in a charcoal canister, and when you start the car up, it reburns all those fumes. And somewhere in there's probably a leak. and that's why the check engine light's on. I'm assuming this thing runs fine.
Runs great.
Yeah. So again, the check engine light is probably on because the evap system has a little leak in it somewhere. To find the leak, the right way to do it is you pressurize the whole system with synthetic smoke, and you basically look for where the smoke leaks out, and then you fix what's wrong. But if I wanted to, and I'm not advocating cheating, but if I wanted to cheat, just before I went to go get an inspection sticker on a car that didn't need an emissions test, I would just clear the codes and then go in and say, and then they'll do a standard safety inspection and send you on your way.
And okay, all right, okay, all
because
right.
It's not like with a newer car where if you cleared the codes, you would come in and it would say not ready. On an older car, they don't look so.
Right, because it's 15 years old at this point. Okay. Okay, and right, because again, I mean, I did replace it. I mean, right, I'm not trying to cheat the code or anything, but I did replace it. And it's not.
And a 15-year-old catalytic converter was probably needed to be replaced anyway. So you put a new catalytic converter on it. The air coming out of the tailpipe, I bet if you went to, the old days, and we're almost out of time, but the old days, when they used to stick the probe in the tailpipe, chances are with your new catalytic converter, the air coming out of the tailpipe is probably really, really clean. But because of a little bit of a leak in the evap system, it's turning the light on. If you had that 15-year-old catalytic converter, the carbon monoxide, the hydrocarbons would probably be high. That new catalytic converter is chewing that stuff up and making it nice and clean. But I bet there's a little bit of a leak somewhere. Could be anything from a leaky gas cap to any one of those 15-year-old vacuum hoses that run from the fuel tank up to the carbon canister. So, those are the kind of places where I think there's a problem. But, if it's a matter of, you just want to get a sticker, that's what I would do.
Okay, wonderful. Thanks for your time.
It's sort of cheating a little bit, but the right thing to do is go try to get it fixed. But in the meantime, you'll get a sticker on the car, and if you decide to fix it, you can fix it.
Yeah, I mean, I brought it in 3 times, and it's fine for a while. I drive it for like a week, and all of a sudden the light comes back on.
It comes back on. Yep. All right. All right. Good luck with it.
Hey, appreciate the call.
All right. Take care. That music means we need to go. Until next week, make sure you wear your seatbelt, drive safely, be good to your car, and if you see an emergency vehicle by the side of the road, slow down or move over. It saves lives, and don't pollute the air. We'll talk to you all next week. Bye-bye.